Islam, how we all doing today this morning on this glorious, glorious, glorious grand rise? So let me talk to the many cultures. Hola, ¿cómo está? Islam, salam alaikum, konnichiwa, bonjour, grand rise, namaste. Hello. How's everyone doing on this beautiful Saturday? Another holy day for us to come together in the workshop of the mind and elevate ourselves spiritually, mentally, and physically. For this right now, we're dealing with straight spiritual and mental to help give us good guidance throughout our day and whatever adversities that the day choose to bring towards us. Because Allah will, which is everything, and most importantly, Allah is the God of love. So we want to use that love to power up and to sustain our practices, our enrichment practices of success. This is totally about success. So make sure you guys tap into msta13gov.com. That's msta13gov.com. Support our sponsors at trapmarketplace.com. That's trapmarketplace.com. Our new electronics store. We need your support to support our clothing design company at Rise Grind Custom Clothing.com. That's Rise Grind Custom Clothing.com. So make sure you guys check that out. I want to get that out early so you have that opportunity to reach out and to support us and our many other functions that you can learn, and functions, programs, and services that you can learn more about at msta13gov.com. I mean, we got everything from youth development services. We have homeless support services. We have community development projects in place. We have an economic business sector that's been totally beat up by the pandemic. We want to help get the Restart program going on strong. We have our More Tech University, which was just launched yesterday. There's a platform for you to support the More Tech University as we continue to campaign for donations for the uplifting of fallen humanity here at North America and throughout the planet Earth. So we want to thank you. I want to give praises to Allah, the God of love, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I want to give honors to his prophets, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, for the purpose of uplifting fallen humanity. I want to give honors to all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, etc. I want to give honors to Brother Marcus Garvey, who came with the red, black, and green flag to organize the people, to help the people can recondition themselves back to an independent function of the mind, to an independent state of thinking on the principles of brotherhood, of nationhood, and prepare the people for the coming prophet. So we give honors. I give honors to Brother Marcus Garvey. He was to us and to our prophet like John the Baptist was to Brother Jesus, our other prophet, our prophet who came before us in the form of flesh, Islam in the form of love made in flesh. So that love made manifest so we can comprehend. So Brother Marcus Garvey was that John the Baptist for us to the prophet, to get the people in a purity state of consciousness of themselves. And here come the savior of the world, which is love made manifest, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who came to us in 1913 and put that work in from 1913 to 1929 to secure our estate and bring back the consciousness of the Moorish dynasty, empire, the Moorish lineage, the Moorish descent, and the Moorish heirs. Brought us back from out of that Desmo crypt of being Black, Negro, colored, African American, and all of these slave brands that was put up on the Moors starting back in 1774. So I want to encourage you all to make sure y'all come and support us at msta13gov.com, and you can receive this pamphlet at expense. We have it for you for your daily bread, for your daily practices to support your nurturing of your spirit, of that spirituality, basically that system of consciousness, that system or the functions of consciousness, the operations of that spiritual consciousness. Because I noticed too with my partners and my brothers and my associates and my friends and family, etc., that a lot of us get so down and out that we become mechanicals, like robots, like microwaves, like refrigerators, like cars, like computers. But we are not mechanical. We are spirit, man and spirit. Okay, so spirit man, which when I use the term man, it is not directed to a particular gender. It's in reference to humanity. Now, hold on. This is coffee with Brother El. So with that being said, let me slow down and get to my coffee. Okay, I already got my cup out here. All right. So we're not average. I mean, we're not. This is a religious. Moorish Science Temple of America is a religious organization, corporation, nation, state. So I'm not pushing Myers brand on here. Okay, I'm just kind of letting y'all know I got 100% Colombian. Okay, I got 100% Colombian in this thing. I got my coffee cups, my throwaways. Oh, I knew what I was missing, y'all. I knew what I was missing. Hold on. I knew what I was missing. We got some of that oat, y'all. We got oat creamer. We got oat creamer. This is so delicious. It is so fun. Like the prophet say, like the Holy Quran teaches us. They say, it's not thy mouth, basically the doorway to delicacies. Yes, it is. And this here is a delicacy because it's plant-based. It's oats, made of oats, and the oats is good for your heart and other parts of your body and the organs. We're talking about the main landscapes of your holy temple, which is in reference to the body. And so spirit man has to remember that this living organism called skin or the flesh, right? The body that makes up the body as far as all of its components as well. Now, the spirit is that life force. The spirit is that life force, that etheric being, right? That this is the etheric being's house. Okay. So this is why this is so important, so fun, because coffee's good for you, right? That's a bean, that's from a plant. And oak is good for you. It's from a plant. So we just discovered that we were able to still have our coffee, but healthy. Praise Allah. Praise Allah. So to start our day off, we're not destroying ourselves. We're not putting in poison to the body. And the water that I use is obviously the water that we dispense to not only to the members of Temple 13, but to the general public. So our water is powered by White Cloud and is distributed through one of our functions at Temple 13 titled Alkaline King Water Distribution Services. So you can learn more about that service at msta13gov.com. And through many years, probably going on maybe our third year or fourth year of doing our water raises. So every year around July, we get the youth out there. We get them armed with the maximums of truth in reference to our artesian alkaline natural spring water with an 8.3 pH balance. And it has all of your essential minerals that you need to build your immune systems and to fight against infertility. So for the sisters out there that's dealing with issues of infertility, I know one of the main ones that we had to defeat was polycystic ovarian syndrome. Me and my noble and Nubian Moorish goddess, the Sheikist sister El-Bashaw, my Mary, we put together a formula for Mother Nature, and she built our immune system, and she blessed us with re-electrifying the body to take care of this allegation of infertility due to what they call PCOS, which is that polycystic ovarian syndrome. So the water has calcium, magnesium, potassium, and zinc, which is its basic essential minerals. But here's one that is not on the bottle, which is in the water, which is manganese. So manganese is a mineral that supports healthy or supports the process of fertility. So it reverses effects of infertility, right? And so it helps a female or a male become fertile. And so for the sisters and brothers, the families that's torn apart from issues of infertility, we now have that cure readily available to the for mass distribution anywhere in the United States of America, and abroad. And so Allah is great, Allah is good, and Allah is love. And here in the Moorish Science Temple of America, the nearest place you can meet Allah is in the heart. And the body is the holy temple. This is temple number 1, right? So temple number 1 is self. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah, which is why it's so important. Hold on. Wow. Now I will say, I need a little bit more of my oat milk. There we go. Now, if I just wanted to be, if I just was having a sugar attack like that, we even got a little bit of raw honey here. So I feel like the raw honey may be a little excessive with the then you got a little bit of blue agave, so if you want to be, if you just gotta have, I know people just drink coffee just to get the sugar out. And you're not realizing that the sugar is eating you alive from the inside, because it's eating your organs, starting with your intestines, dealing with your digestive tract and your digestive system. It's destroying it, and then it's putting more pressure on the heart, so it's destroying the heart. Then it's putting more pressure on other parts of the organs, the liver, what you call the stomach, the lungs area of the body. All of that is eating it up. It's tearing it apart. This is why you got so many people dealing with so many cancers, like illnesses, diabetes, which is really a pancreas disease. Your pancreas is diseased. You need to heal the pancreas. Listen, there's a lot of things, that's going on when you consume the wrong knowledge. When you consume the wrong knowledge, you eat with your brain, okay? So that's why it's so important for you to study yourself, know thyself, and study Dr. Africa, study Dr. Zebi, study I Am Hotep, study Noble Drew Ali, study the great God of the universe. And so this is why it's so important. You got to hit my line and come make sure y'all get a Holy Quran Circle 7, because here it teaches us to know thyself and Allah. And we teach the genealogy of Jesus, of justice. We are the origins of justice. We are the foundations of justice. Jesus means justice. Justice is the science that renders, basically the science that treats fairness, right? And so justice is basically fairness. When we talk about equality, when we talk about passing judgment, right? One judgment can be seen as a punishment, another as a reward. I like to say it's all a reward, right? Because whatever that you earned, you deserved, right? Whatever you earned, that's what you work for. I watched my son, my 17-year-old Kamari Miles Ill, Prince Kamari Daquan Miles Ill, Islam. I watch him manifest a condition of the mind as if he's a victim, right? And even though some of the elements that develop that thought process may be true, however, at some points, we all, society, civilization, has been a victim of lack of knowledge, lack of love, lack of family, holding to family principles, lack of honor, right? Lack of obedience. But I had to remind him he fought hard to develop that condition. So remember, I'm the cure. So I'm ushering in an intervention, right? So prevention and intervention. Once I'm able to see the pattern start to develop this thought process. And so, he comes out at times sporadically, and he tries to give this leisure that he's upset and it's justified because of this. And I'm like, no, remember that before you got to here, we came in here and said this was going to happen if you fail to do here, if you fail to do A, B, and C, you're going to end up here. And then here, you're going to start developing a mentality that here is where you're supposed to be, and you're here because somebody else's fault, when that's not true. We caught you early enough and old enough to develop you in right knowledge, where you see the issue, but you have the resolution because you are that resolution. And you have an environment, an atmosphere, and a climate that has been developed with resolution in the midst and in the face of adversity. Because the soldier never knows the strength without a foe, and which is one of the reasons why the lower self was developed when we were developed, when this body was developed. What body? The body of desires. The body of desires, experience, right? So his bodies of desires captivated his mind. It captured him, right? And then it was influenced, and then it was nurtured, and then it was supported. All they needed is the atmosphere, the climate, the conditions to be set to support that level, that low level of consciousness, which is counterproductive, and one may never reach his or her potential in that mind state. So this is why it's so important to come get your Holy Quran today, if you can, by simply, you can Cash App us at MSTA13, or you can PayPal us, you can reach out, call us at the office line at 800-803-7107. 800-803-7107. Of course, you can always receive one at msta.mstislam. MSTA13gov.com. That's MSTA13gov.com. Okay. And so I just want to point out the value of that the mind is receiving, that your children can have, you gonna have, because in order for your children to have it, you must have it. And so me being my children's father, obviously, right, I have it. And so I impart this into their understanding, into their DNA, one, through example, two, through me teaching it, me reading this to them reading this themselves, and them breaking this down in life form, life examples, right? So in chapter 12 is a essential piece in dealing with defining your greatness and or finding your greatness. So you got defining your greatness, but first you must find your greatness, right? And once you find your greatness, then you can define that greatness. You can define that greatness. Because in your greatness, right, you have some weaknesses. And that's dealing with perspective when I use that term weakness, because weakness don't have to mean something negative, because it only could mean once you identify what we might call as weakness, then you strengthen those areas. Then it's no longer a weakness to you. You see what I'm saying? And so this is what Prophet Jesus or Brother Justice did for us in chapter 12. He helped find and then can show us our power to redefine as gods, as Allahs, as creators. So he says in this chapter 12 on page 19 of the Holy Quran, Circle 7 in Moore Science Temple of America, this chapter is called Jesus Teaches the Common People at a Spring, tells them how to obtain eternal happiness. He said, in silent meditation, Jesus sat beside a flowing spring. It was a holy day, and many people of the servant caste were near the place. And Jesus saw the hard-drawn lines of toil on every brow. For the people who don't know what toil means, toils mean work, aka Google the term toil. So it means work. In every hand, there was no look of joy in any face. Not one of all of the group could think of anything but toil. And Jesus spoke to one and said, why are you all so sad? Have you no happiness in your life? Right? So Jesus pushed up on the brothers and sisters, and he examined conditions very briefly, and he looked at the pattern of this energy. He was an energy reader, like I am. I'm a Cancer. And so I have the ability to read energy. That's what some women, you hear women like, my intuition. Yeah, my intuition. And I'm able to see that energy is be all on your face. And that's what Jesus seen here. And he said, the man replied, we scarcely know the meaning of that word. Because he asked about happiness. Because we're going to learn that heaven and happiness, heaven means happiness, and happiness means heaven. So when Jesus saw these poor toilers, Jesus spoke to one and said, why are you all so sad? Have you no happiness in your life? The man replied, we scarcely know the meaning of that word. We toil to live and hope for nothing else but toil. And bless the day when we can cease our toil and lie down and rest in Buddha's city of the dead. Right? And Jesus' heart was stirred with pity and with love for these poor toilers. And he said, toil should not make a person sad. Men should be happiest when they toil. When hope and love are back of toil, then all of life is filled with joy and peace, and this is heaven. Do you not know that such a heaven is for you? The man replied, of heaven we have heard, but when it is so far away, and we must live so many lives before we reach that place. And Jesus said, my brother man, your thoughts are wrong. Your heaven is not far away. It is not a place of nets and bounds. It is not a country to be reached. It is a state of mind. Allah never made a heaven for man. He never made a hell. We are creators. We make our own. Now cease to seek for a heaven in the sky. Just open up the windows of your heart, and like a flood of light, a heaven will come and bring a boundless joy. Then the toil would be no cruel task. The people were amazed and gathered close to hear the strange young master speak, imploring him to tell them more about the Father God, Allah, about the heaven that men can make on earth, about the boundless joy. And Jesus spake a parable. He said, a certain man possessed a field. The soil was hard and poor. By constant toil, he scarcely could provide food to keep his family from want. One day, a miner who could see beneath the soil and passing on his way saw this poor man in his unfruitful field. He called the weary toiler and said, my brother, know you not that just below the surface of your barren field, rich treasures lie concealed? You plow and sow and reap in a scanty way, and day by day you tread upon a mine of gold and precious stones. This wealth lies not upon the surface of the ground, but if you will dig away the rocky soil and dwell down deep into the earth, you need no longer till the soil for naught, which means nothingness. The man believed. The miner surely knows, and I will find the treasure hidden in my field. And then he dug away the rocky soil, and deep down in the earth, he found a mine of gold. And Jesus said, the sons of men are toiling hard on desert plains and burning sands and rocky soils, are doing what their fathers did, not dreaming that they can do aught else. Behold, a master comes and tells them of a hidden wealth, that underneath the rocky soil of cardinal things are treasures that no man can count. That in the heart of the richest gem abound, he who lives, he who wills, may open the door and find them all. And then the people said, make known to us that way, that we may find the wealth that lies within the heart. And Jesus opened up the way. The toiler saw another side of life, and toil became a joy. So what happened? Very powerful, especially if you are a member of the world. If you are a member of goals, having goals, setting goals, planning to be successful. And in that, and on your journey, you hit these walls, you hit these, this adversity, and you get down. Can't stay down because it's something else inside of you. That something else inside of you is Ka, Ba, is spirit, is Allah, it's the holy breath that's inside of you. So you can wield it. You can just be you. You can dig down deep within self to pick you back up because you never failed. That was an illusion. There's no failure for man. There's no death for spirit man. Spirit man is Allah in man, the higher self. So this is about activating the super consciousness. This is what Prophet Jesus did. Brother Justice, he activated the super consciousness of the poor toilers. They was led to believe they were stuck in a lower dimension of consciousness. They was worried about, they said, oh man, we just gotta work till we can't work no more until we able to die and go to heaven. Jesus, he like me. What are you talking about? Right? Because I was raised on different teachings. See, these poor toilers were in a victimized capacity. They have been done so wrong by the priesthood. They have been done so wrong by the religious sector and by the rich that they didn't even know what heaven was. They thought it was up in the sky. And it had always been residing with them. And so he even gave them an example, what they call a parable, of this poor toiler and his family who went about treading away on the rocky soils, moving about in a scanty way. Always got an attitude, always mad about something. What's wrong? What's wrong? Oh, I ain't got it. Oh, you know, we sitting here thinking we can't achieve greater than our mothers and fathers. We sitting here thinking that our happiness belongs to another. No, your happiness belongs to you. You are happiness. You are love. That's why the prophet said we need to teach our people how to learn to, they need to learn to love. They need to learn how to love themselves. You've been given false images. We've been given false images our whole life of somebody else's perspective of love. Until our prophet came, Noble Ali, and gave us the mirror and said, here go love right here. I said, whoa. Here go the holy city of Mecca right here. I say, whoa. Here go the church right here. I say, whoa. Here go the Holy Temple. Here go the Moorish Science Temple of America right here. Whoa. The Moorish Science Temple of America is not a brick building. It's a people. It's a nation. It's Allah. It's Allah's company. He said heaven, Jesus said heaven is not a country, a place of men bound to be reached. Allah never made a heaven nor a hell for man. We a creator. We make our own. They said, well, whoa, where's this heaven that we can have on earth? I ain't know nothing about this one. I ain't know nothing about this one. Right? Because before the prophet came in our time, talking about Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Prophet Jesus came in his time. This was during his time. He was dropping this level of degrees to raise the consciousness of the common people. Who was the common people? Me and you, the common people. Not the, you know, the alleged rich and wealthy and powerful, just the common people. These common people have been led to believe by these same so-called elite level citizens or classes of citizens or classes of people that there was a difference. Islam. The mind has been conquered and deduced down to a lower level of functioning. And so now here come Brother Justice, that y'all call Jesus, that came in the form of flesh, but manifested from love, so we can comprehend. And love is Allah, and love is the Savior of the world, right? So one must love himself. And so they have forgot that way to loving themselves. And so that's why it's so important on this journey that when the times get tough or you get down from adversity or whatever it may be, and you are unable to find strength, you got to raise your thoughts to infinite wisdom. And remember that you are strength. That you and strength is one and the same. So just simply rise and use your will. Meaning that no matter what's in front of you, I'm just simply going to achieve my goals. And that's the kind of daily bread and spiritual intervention that the Holy Quran Circle 7 conveys through the divine instructions from the Holy Prophet. These are divine instructions that guides us on our journey. So for the entrepreneurs, for the fathers, for the leaders, for the statesmen, for the mothers, you can set your life in order with these lessons. Another great book that's really good for cultivating the mind. Think and Grow Rich. So another great book to piggyback from the Holy Quran, and you can receive this book at trapmarketplace.com. That's trapmarketplace.com. It's our version of the River Nile, where you're able to come and get access for trade and transportation. That's what the River Nile was dredged for. So you can find more information out about receiving this book on your purchase. You can save 5% by simply going to trapmarketplace.com. That's trapmarketplace.com. This is a great book to help cultivate and recultivate and re-socialize and center and balance the mind and help advance, enrich one's perspective around the subject matter on themselves, on enriching themselves. And so we'll dive in here. This is by Napoleon Hill. And thank y'all. I want to say thank y'all for joining us on Coffee with Brother El, Temple number 13. I am the official Grand Sheik for Temple number 13 of the Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated, Noble Drew Ali, the founder. You can learn more about this divine and national movement at MSTA13gov I almost said downtown, MSTA13gov.com. We're located downtown Oakland County at the city of Pontiac in the state of Michigan, or at the state of Michigan. I know I got some heck of a doctors following me. So I'm gonna just dive into chapter 15 and just give us a few notes from out of here. Just something to think about why these books are so important to put into our spirit mind, especially to start our days off. How we start is how we finish. So let's have a great start off. So this chapter is 15, dealing with how to outwit 6 ghosts of fear. The 6 ghosts of fear. Clearing the brain for riches. So it says, before you can put any portion of this philosophy into successful use, your mind must be prepared to receive it. The preparation is not difficult. It begins with study, analysis, and understanding of 3 enemies you shall have to clear out. These are indecisions, doubt, and fear. Okay. So we got the 3 fears down. Let's see if I can lift this up just a little bit more. Okay. All right, let's see. All right. I had to take me a little seat here. Get our white cloud prop over to the side and let my knees rest. Okay. Here we are. Got our white cloud. We got our good coffee. All right. And we got Brother El. Thank y'all for bearing with us for that real quick moment. Let's all back to the presentation. Okay, it says the 6th sense will never function while these 3 negatives or any of them remain in your mind. The members of this unholy trio are closely related. Where one is found, the other 2 are close at hand. Indecisions is the seedling of fear. Remember this as you read. Indecisions crystallize into doubt, and the 2 blend and become fear. The blending process is often slow. This is one reason why these 3 enemies are so dangerous. They germinate and grow without their presence being observed. The remainder of this chapter describes an end that must be obtained before the philosophy as a whole can be put into practical use. It also analyzes a condition that has reduced huge number of people to poverty, and it states a truth that must be understood by all who accumulate riches. whether measured in terms of money or a state of mind, are far greater value. The purpose of this chapter is to turn the spotlight upon the cause and the culture of the 6 basic fears. Before we can master an enemy, we must know its name, its habits, and its place of abode. As you read, analyze yourself carefully and determine which, if any, of the 6 common fears have attached themselves to you. Do not be deceived by the habits of these subtle enemies. Sometimes they remain hidden, and in the subconscious mind, they are difficult to locate and still more difficult to eliminate. Right? And so the 6 basic fears are: every human suffers from some combination of them at one time or another. Most people are fortunate if they do not suffer from the entire 6. Named in order of their most common appearances. Their most common appearance, they are the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love of someone, the fear of old age, the fear of death. All other fears are of minor importance and can be grouped under these 6 headings. The prevalence of these fears as a curse to the world runs in cycles. For almost 6 years, while the Depression was on, we floated in the cycle of fear of poverty. During the periods when we were at war or faced with terror, we were in the cycle of fear or death. Even in the periods of prosperity and peace, we are in the cycle of fear of ill health, as evidenced by the epidemic of various diseases which spread themselves all over the world. Fears are nothing more than a state of mind. Once state of mind is subject to control and direction, doctors remember we just got done reading that? What did Jesus say? Heaven and hell is a state of mind. We're a creator, we make our own. Now cease to seek for a heaven in the sky. And he said, just open up the windows to their heart, and a flood of light will come down, and a boundless joy. With a boundless joy, talking about the kingdom of heaven. So Jesus taught us spiritually how to get rid of this fear. These 6 fears, by raising us up to the 7, to the circle 7, right? The 7 and alkaline is purity. The number 7 represents purity and when it comes to alkaline, right? To measuring the pH in water, the potential hydrogen. And 7, at 7 is neutral, it's balance, it's Islam, it's peace, it's purity. Anything below a 7 is acid. So these 6 fears is all acid, no alkaline. So now we know that here at the Morris Sands Temple of America, fear does not exist. Because the prophet taught us that in order to be a Moorish American, you must be independent, upright, and fearless. Independent, upright, and fearless. Demonstrating on the science of wisdom, will, and love. Independent, upright, and fearless. So they gave you 6 ether, broke the 6 ether down into 6 basic fears. And this is think and grow rich. But we said you are rich already. We said the wealth is not external, it's internal. And we'll get more into that. Why? Because, well, you at home on your own land. And that's the point of nationality. But this is, let's just stick with it in parts. So let's go back to the 6 basic fears. All right, so we caught in this cycle that they're breaking down of fears. So it say even in periods of prosperity and peace, we are in the cycle of fear of ill health, as evidenced by the now pandemic of various diseases which spread themselves all over the world. Fears are nothing more than a state of mind. One's state of mind is subject to control and directions. Doctors, as everyone knows, are less subject to attack by disease than ordinary laymen, for the reasons that doctors do not fear disease. Doctors have been known to treat hundreds of people suffering from such contagious diseases as smallpox in a day without becoming infected. Their immunity against the disease consisted largely, if not solely, in their absolute lack of fear. Facts. We can create nothing. We can create nothing. We can create nothing that is not first conceived in the form of an impulse of thought. Following this statement comes another of still greater importance, namely, thought impulse begins immediately to translate themselves into the physical equivalent, whether those thoughts are voluntary or involuntary. Thoughts, impulses picked up through the ether by mere chance. Thoughts released by other minds may determine one's financial, business, professional, or social destiny. Just as surely as the thought impulse one creates by intent and design. We are here laying the foundation for the presentation of a fact of great importance. To the person who does not understand why, some people appear to be lucky, while others of equal or greater ability, training, experience, and brain capacity seem destined to ride with misfortune. This may be explained by the statement that human beings have the ability to control their own minds completely. With this control, right? And this is why the Holy Quran, once again, is so important. Make sure y'all get your Holy Qurans from Temple number 13 at msta13gov.com. This is why it's so important at Circle 7, because it's a mastermind program. The great uplifting of fallen humanity at the end of the day is to teach you to control your own mind. Self-control. Because right now, the planet is under psychic attacks, psychological, and it's been that way for a long time. It's been military programs for a long time that's focused on controlling the psyche and keeping it in a confused state to control it, and then controlling the patterns of behavior to determine outcomes, incomes, sustainabilities of these institutions. That's predicated, their wealth is predicated on controlling your mind. So it's all mind control. So this is a mastermind program to relinquish foreign control over your mind, right? To put it back in this organic state of consciousness. So moving on. So with this control, they may open their minds to the thought impulses released by other brains, or close the door tightly and admit only thought impulse of their own choice, right? That's taking more control over the property, more control over the real estate. It's becoming a real property manager over you, your body being the property, and the mind being the control center. So nature has endowed us with absolute control over but one thing, and that is thought. This fact coupled with the additional fact that everything people create begins in the form of a thought, leads one very near to the principle by which fear may be mastered. If it is true that all thought has a tendency to clothe itself in its physical equivalent, and this is true beyond any reasonable room for doubt, it is equally true that thought impulses of fear and poverty cannot be translated into terms of courage and financial gain. following the Wall Street crash of 1929, which is a significant year, the same year the prophet passed or ascended, right? Ascended to his Father God Allah. So following the Wall Street crash of 1929, the people of America were compelled to think of poverty. Slowly but surely, the mass thought was crystallized into, the mass thought was crystallized into the physical equivalent, which was known as depression. This had to happen. It is in conformity with the laws of nature. The fear of poverty. There can be no compromise between poverty and riches. The two roads that lead to poverty and riches travel in opposite directions. If you want riches, you must refuse to accept any circumstances that lead towards poverty. You hear me, Moors? The word riches is here used in its broadest sense, meaning financial, spiritual, mental, and material estates. The starting point of the path that leads to riches is desire. In chapter 1 and 2, you receive full instructions for the proper use of desire. In this chapter on fear, you have complete instructions for preparing your mind to make practical use of desire. And that desire is something that's like an anchor to focus your energy, or chi, right? So if I desire to do, to provide greater security for my home, and let me give you something that's more a dumbed down version of that statement. I'm going to buy a house for my children and my wife and my family, right? So now that desire I can use to focus my energy. So now I'm driven by that every day. I'm putting up money, making sure this is taken care of, making sure that's taken care of. I ain't taking no for an answer. I'm on my game. I'm following the plan. It seems like I'm being I'm mean or edgy, or no, I'm just staying focused on one thing. I got to get this house for my family, provide security for my family, and that desire to provide security for your family in the form of purchasing a house is eliminates and remove fear, because you actually reversing the fear. You actually like, well, I can't just not have my family secure, so I'm that's a fear of not having them secure. So I'm driven by this desire to execute this plan to achieve this goal to provide greater security for my family. So that's me taking the negative and converting it over into a positive and using that as fuel or an anchor to keep my energy focused on this objective. And I accomplished this objective. Boom, I manifested this. I used the science to reconvert my thought process into positive energy that ultimately lead me to creating my own heaven, i.e. happiness, i.e. achieving that goal. So let me get back to the science here. It say here then is the place to give yourself a challenge that will definitely determine how much of this philosophy you have absorbed. Here is the point at which you can turn profit and foretell accurately what the future holds in store for you. If after reading this chapter you are willing to accept poverty, you may as well make up your mind to receive poverty. This is one decision that you cannot avoid. If you demand riches, determine what form and how much will be required to satisfy you. You know the road that leads to riches. You have been given a roadmap which, if followed, will keep you on that road. If you neglect to make the startup or stop before you arrive, no one will be to blame but you. This responsibility is yours. No alibi will save you from accepting the responsibility if you now fail or refuse to demand riches of life. The acceptance calls for but one thing, the one thing you can control, and that is a state of mind. A state of mind is something that one assumes. It cannot be purchased. It cannot be created. Fear of poverty is a state of mind, nothing else. But it is sufficient to destroy one's chance of achievement in any undertaking. The fear paralyzes the faculty of reason, destroys the faculty of imagination, kills off self-reliance, undermines enthusiasm, discourages initiatives, leads to uncertainty of purpose, encourages procrastination, wipes out enthusiasm and purpose, encourages procrastinations, and makes self-control impossibility. It takes the charm from one's personality, destroys the possibility of accurate thinking, diverts concentration of effort. It masters persistence, turns the willpower into nothingness, destroys ambition, beclouds the memory, invites failure in every conceivable form. It kills love and assassinates the finer emotions of the heart, discourages friendship, invites disaster in 100 forms, leads to sleepiness, misery, and unhappiness. And all of this despite the obvious truth that we live in a society of overabundance of everything the heart could desire, with nothing standing between us and our desires except lack of definite purpose. The fear of poverty is without doubt most destructive of the 6 basic principles. It has been placed at the head of the list because it is the most difficult to master. Considerable courage is required to state the truth about the origin of this fear, and still greater courage to accept the truth after it has been stated. The fear of poverty grew out of the human tendency to prey upon others economically. Nearly all animals lower than humans are motivated by instinct, but as their capacity to think is limited, they prey upon one another physically. Humans, with their superior sense of intuition, with the capacity to think and to reason, do not eat other human bodily. They get more satisfaction out of eating them financially. The age in which we live seems to be consumed by money madness. People are considered less than the dust of the earth unless they can display a fat bank account. But if they have money, never mind how acquired, they are too often idolized and treated as being above the law. They rule in politics, dominate in business, and the whole world about them bows in respect when they pass by. Nothing brings so much suffering and humility as poverty. Only those who have experienced poverty understand the full meaning of this. It is no wonder that we fear poverty. Through a long line of inherited experience, we have learned for sure that some people cannot be trusted where matters of money and earthly possessions are concerned. This is a rather stinging indictment, the worst part of it being that it is true. Many marriages are motivated by wealth, possessed by one or both of the contracting parties. It is no wonder, therefore, that the divorce courts are so busy. So eager are people to possess wealth that they will acquire it in any feasible manner, through legal methods if possible, but through other methods if necessary or expedient. Self-analysts may disclose weaknesses that one does not like to acknowledge. This form of examination is essential to all who demand of life more than mediocrity and poverty. Remember, as you check yourself, point by point, that you are the court and the jury, the prosecution and the defense, the plaintiff and the defendant. Face the facts squarely. Ask yourself definite questions and demand direct replies. When the examination is over, you will know more about yourself. If you do not feel that you are that you can be an impartial judge in this self-examination, call upon someone who knows you well to serve as judge while you cross-examine yourself. You are after the truth. Get it, no matter at what cost, even though it may temporarily embarrass you. The majority of people, if asked what they fear most, will reply, I fear nothing. The reply would be inaccurate because few people realize they are bound, handicapped, whipped spiritually and physically through some form of fear, so subtle and deeply seated in the emotion of fear that one may go through life burdened with it, never recognizing its presence. Only a courageous analyst will disclose the presence of this universal enemy. When you begin such an analyst, search deeply into your character, here is a list of symptoms you should look for. Symptoms of fear of poverty: indifference, commonly expressed through lack of ambition, willingness to tolerate poverty, acceptance of whatever compensation life may offer without protest, but mental and physical laziness, lack of initiative, imagination, enthusiasm, and self-control. Indecision, the habit of permitting others to do one's thinking, staying on the fence. Doubt, generally expressed through alibis and excuses designed to cover up, explain away, or apologize for one's failure, sometimes expressed in the form of envy of those who are successful or by criticizing them. Worry, usually expressed by finding fault with others, a tendency to spend beyond one's income, neglect of personal appearance, scowling and frowning, intemperance in the use of alcohol drinks, sometimes through the use of narcotics, nervousness, lack of poise, self-consciousness, and lack of self-reliance, overcaution, the habit of looking for the negative side of every circumstances, thinking and talking of possible failures instead of concentrating upon the means of succeeding, knowing all the roads to disaster but never searching for the plans to avoid failure, waiting for the right time to begin putting ideas and plans into action until the wanting becomes a permanent habit, remembering those who have failed and forgetting those who have succeeded, seeing the hole in the donut but overlooking the donut. Procrastination, the habit of putting off until tomorrow matters that should have been done last year. Spending enough time in creating alibis and excuses have done the job. This symptom is closely related to overcaution, doubt, and worry. Refusal to accept responsibility when it can be avoided. Willingness to compromise rather than put up a stiff fight. Compromising with difficulties instead of harnessing and using them as stepping stones to advancement. Bargaining with life for a penny instead of demanding prosperity, opulence, riches, contentment, and happiness, and planning what to do if and when overtaken by failure instead of burning all bridges and making retreat impossible. This is manifested further by weakness of and of total lack of self-confidence, deafness of people, self-control, initiative, enthusiasm, ambition, thrift, and sound reasoning ability, expecting poverty instead of demanding riches, association with those who accept poverty instead of seeking the company of those who demand and receive riches. The fear of criticism. Most people are the least very uncomfortable when criticized. In some cases, they become depressed and despondent when others censor them. The fear of criticism robs people of their initiative, destroys their power of imagination, limits their individuality, takes away their self-reliance, and does them damage in 100 other ways. The mother of one of my irreparable injury by criticizing them, Islam, the mother of one of my boyhood chums used to punish him with a switch almost daily, always completing the job with the statement, "You will end up in prison before you are 20." He was sent to a reform school at the age of 17. Criticism is the one form of service of which everyone has too much. Everyone has a stock of it that is handed out gracious, whether called for or not. One's nearest relatives are often the worst offenders. It should be recognized as a crime. In reality, it is a crime of the worst nature. For any parent to build inferiority complexes in the mind of a child through unnecessary criticism Employers who understand human nature get the best there is out of people, not by criticism, but constructive suggestions. Very important. Parents may accomplish the same result with their children. Criticism will plant fear or resentment in the human heart, but it will not build love or affection. And so, you know what? It's coming up on our time. I'm not going to read the whole. I want to read the whole chapter to you, and maybe we will pick up part 2 of Coffee with Brother Eel, dealing with the 6 basic fears. So we'll stop here on page 270 for the sake of time. Even though time never was when man was not, I myself have to stay on time. We have a very exciting day. Make sure y'all check out Lil Prince. We'll be posting some footage today for our Open Youth Development Coalition fundraising campaign. So we're going out today into this field to capture some moments with our young, bright, talented athletes. Prince Ravenna Miles II, Jacoby Manyweathers. We have young Noah Bonds going to be out there. You have the Claudio sons and cousins and family out there. So it's going to be an exciting day with the talent and our bright, talented youth from Oakland County and within our Moore Science Temple community. And so we got to get out there in the field. So I got to be on time for that event. Got to prepare myself for that. But once again, I want to thank all of you all for joining us today. I hope you all were able to use some of the knowledge, if not all of the knowledge, for inspiration, motivation, and positive fuel that you need to achieve whatever your goals are in the mission of uplifting fallen humanity. I'm Brother P. Miles Eel, commonly known as Brother Eel, the Grand Sheik of Temple number 13, Moore Science Temple of America. Thank you all. Honors to you all. You be safe. Continue to work on your personal health, spiritual health, physical health, financial health. It is all relevant. It is all important. Remember that you are a creator. You make your own. Heaven is right in the mirror. Be proud that you're beautiful. Be proud of who you are. If you don't like who you are, then you have the right to change that, to better that, to advance yourself, till you are able to see what you need to see. But I'm here to let you know that I see greatness in you as you are. And I'm here to remind you that ye are all gods, and Allah and man is one. And that man debased himself, humanity debased himself from Allah through the periods of lack of knowledge of what they call the dark ages. So we got to really get back to that loving self, loving the knowledge of self and all of its many mysteries. And don't be afraid to pull out your greatness. Matter of fact, just don't fear all the way, altogether. And what that means is to reconvert the fear into what you need to be successful in life. Let that fear drive you to be courageous, to do what's right by yourself and by your people. And with that being said, visit us at msta13.gov. That's msta13.gov.com, msta13gov.com. Peace.